Hello everyone, welcome to the YouTube channel. This is the Crucible of NYC. I'm your host, Domingo. Here I have the Topdon TC004 Mini. This is a handheld thermal imaging camera. This is a very good tool to have if you're in the market of finding out whether you have cold spots in your house or your apartment, if you have just equipment that you need to check to see if it's heating or if it's not charging because there's no electricity passing by. This would be the tool to get if you need it at any moment. But this Topdon TC004 Mini has a resolution of 128 by 128, and this is upscaled by 240 to 240 using the TISR technology, which stands for Thermal Imaging Super Resolution Technology. What this does is that it upscales the image from 120 by 120 using an algorithm that enhances the image and then upscales it to 240 by 240. This has a refresh rate screen of 25 Hertz. The temperature range where it can measure would be from -4 degrees Fahrenheit to 824 degrees Fahrenheit. And for my Celsius, people that use Celsius, it's from -20 Celsius to 450 Celsius. The temperature accuracy is around +3.6 to that's Fahrenheit, and +2 degrees Celsius. So it's a different variation, but it's a give or take of a degrees or two from the differentiation. This also has a 2900 milliamp hour lithium ion battery. The runtime is about 15 hours with this device. And the protection level, what it has is an IP54 dust and splash resistance. It can take a 6.6 foot, 2 meter drop from wherever so let's say a 6 foot drop. It has 512 megabytes of internal storage for still images. And the field of view, it's about 40 by 30 for the spectrum of where you're gonna be pointing the camera. And this is just pretty much something that I would say that this is a very tactical tool. Not to mention that the charging port, it's with a USB-C. So if you need to recharge this device back, you can recharge it via USB-C in this port here. And the color palettes usually are white, hot, black hot, iron, rainbow, and red hot. So it's 5 color modes that it allows you to change. So now for all those technical aspects. So to turn this device on, you have to press and hold this button here. And once it powers on, you're greeted with a colorful screen giving you an introduction of the operating system and what it does. And if you can see here, I'll try to put this into focus. It gives you a reading of the temperatures here. It will give you minimum, maximum, and center. I don't know if you guys can see that there. There you go. So it will give you different readings from minimum and maximum. And you can change the options from Fahrenheit to Celsius. And this also has a menu screen as well to toggle through everything that you need. This has a trigger button, which allows you to take the actual still images of your reading. So it allows you to take a picture to save it to memory where you can transfer it to a computer via the USB-C port that's up here. And using a USB-C cable that's included, and that's how you can transfer your images. So with this device, you get just a small user guide, very, very basic user guide. It's just tells you basic functions on what to press and what are the inputs and outputs, and the screw hole for mounting into a tripod or anything that you want to try to record. It tells you a 2.4-inch screen, and that's pretty much it. Just the caution specifications and everything I read to you. So, and you just get like an other languages warning of this. That's what's inside this box. So putting all the box aside, so I'll show you that how putting my hand, you could see that, I'll zoom in a little more so you could see, using my hand, you see it reads the temperature from minimum and maximum. And that's just a basic reading. And also that when you place your hand on something and it heats up, you could see that the heat from my hand is transferred onto the mat. And these LED, I have a mat that's lit up with LED lights, but it's being that LEDs are not hot, it's just running at a regular low temperature, and you don't see heat. The only heat that's coming from, it's from that the USB-C, the USB receiver that's being connected by that little Anchor. I have an Anchor Solix, just using that just to heat up. So I just wanted to show you guys a little quick demonstration on the heat. So if you go through the indexes, it'll tell you press OK, it'll give you this menu option, and it'll give you albums. And remember, this is not touchscreen, this will be up and down arrow and press OK. So it gives you the albums that you could press OK to see what you took a picture of with the trigger, the on-screen display, and this gives you other parameters on what to change. And here you can change the modes, the temperature reading if you want it Fahrenheit or Celsius, a temperature alarm where you want it to give you an audible tone if it's too hot, and the system settings. So if you go to the system settings, you get like the brightness, the date and time, auto off. You can format the memory card that's internal. You could hard reset it, device information, and language. That's all that you get from these options, and this will be the back. So if you go back, it gives you again all these informations. So I don't want to go through all the functions, but I will show you like a picture of an image that I took, and as you can see, there's heat there. This was I believe the Anchor, it would be my Anchor 737 battery pack that I was using, and it was just measuring the heat while it was charging. So what we can do is we can try to show you here. This is my Anchor 737. I was charging it right now so that this way you could see the heat. So we'll go back, and if you see on the fluidity of the 25 hertz, so if this was like an 8 hertz or a lower frequency hertz screen, this would be very pixelated. So because this is very higher resolution, it's very fluid as it moves. So this gives you a reading. As you can see, the center from where it's charging, it's 94 degrees, and you can see the maximum is 95 degrees and the minimum is 75 degrees. So this is definitely a good tool. Like if you, for example, like I said, if you're charging something and you want to make sure that it's not too hot to the touch, that it doesn't burn your skin. And this is a good way to also see where the hot spots of a device when it's charging. Not to mention, like since I live in an apartment, I can show you on the heater, like we have like what heats the apartments here, the radiators. I'll show you how hot that gets, and it gets pretty hot, but now that it just turned off, it's probably gonna be a little cooler. So give me a moment and I'll show you. Okay folks, so here's another perfect example. I have these flashlights. These are LED flashlights that are two different types of flashlights. Have like a keychain flashlight, a very small flashlight, and I can tell you that these little flashlights are very, very, very bright. But not only are they very bright, they burn very hot if you have them at the highest setting. These are USB-C rechargeable flashlights, and I believe that this was like about 200 or about 400 lumens. This little thing is so bright. And then I have my Workhorse flashlight FC13. I had made a review about this flashlight. This flashlight is also very good, but also runs very hot. I believe this is about 2000 lumens, this flashlight. And this is also with USB-C rechargeable as well. But inside of this battery and flashlight, it has an 18650 battery. And it's very, very powerful, very bright, and very hot. So that's why it has all these heat sinks. So what I'll do is I'll turn on, I turned on the flashlight right there at that spot. And as you can see here with the thermal imaging camera, there's a hot spot of about 80 degrees. and this was very, very bright, and it was very, very hot. So I'll turn on the flashlight. I start off with the smallest one, and what I'll do is I'll put this one at the mid, that's the high, so this is the lowest setting, and you can see that this is getting very, very warm. So it's about 80 degrees for this flashlight. It's about 80 degrees, 83 degrees. So I'll do is I'll turn, this is on the lowest setting, and also just a reminder, never put a flashlight or a light directly onto the sensor because it can damage it. So what I'll do is I'll light it up on the mat. So this is the low setting, and you can see that the light is still not as hot, but it's 85 degrees. And then I'll put it at medium setting, as you can see how bright this is, and it starts to warm up to 84 degrees. And this is the highest setting, like I said, 400 lumens. It starts to get warmer. As you can see that the lighter part of the flashlight is turning lighter. And so with this, just to let you know, if you sit this somewhere, you'll see that the heat index will start to rise. On the thermal imaging camera, you can see the heat index. So you can see it right here, and it reads out, and it'll give you the temperature reading of right here, like about 90 degrees. So this is at the highest setting. So I'll turn this one off, and I'll start off again with this one. This is also at the lowest setting, and it's like about the total output is like about 2,000 lumens. And right now on the flashlight, it's telling you that it's about 84 degrees. So what we'll do is we'll ramp this up to low, and you can see, I'll put this higher, and you can see there that it's running to about 86 degrees. And then I'll set it to medium setting, so you can see there, it's a whole flood of light, and we'll try to aim it there. It's like about 88 degrees, and we'll put this at the highest setting, and it's starting to heat up. You can see the cell, and everything starts to warm up. And then I'll set this at turbo mode, which is the highest setting, and it's like about 90 degrees, 93 degrees Fahrenheit. But what's crazy is like this mat, I'll leave the light flashing there on the mat, and then when I take off the light, look how hot that is. It reads. And that's because the heat of this flashlight, the light is so intense that they actually tell you to be careful with this, because if you leave this on paper, it can actually burn paper for a long period of time. So I'll turn this off and look at the reading of that one. Pretty hot, huh? 166 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's right there. And it does feel very warm to the touch. But that's how much heat transfer. This is why I was saying about the thermal cameras, that if you are looking for a specific hotspot, this will help you indicate where it can be, and if it's cold as well, the same thing, you can find a cold spot as well. All right, folks, so this is the radiator that I was mentioning, that usually in every apartment, they have it either a radiator and a standing pipe, or just the radiator itself in the room. So using the thermal imaging camera, I don't know if you could see there, it tells you that it's like about 82 degrees and 85 degrees. So that's the internal portion of the radiator that you can see. And being that the water comes from the ground, and it comes from the basement all the way to every apartment, it says 90 degrees on the floor. So not only is this cool to see where the heat comes from, but also to know where it gets really hot on these radiators, not to mention the windows. So being that this is a window right here, I focus to find out where are the colder spots on the windowsill and the window frames. And as I go up, you will see that the heat went all the way up from the radiator and warmed up that area. But the purple and the dark blue spots are the ones that show you where it's the coldest, the draft coming in from the apartment. So also in the ceiling, if you have, like, for example, issues with certain parts on your ceiling that, like, there's a very cold spot, like here, there's always a very, very cold spot right there that goes all the way to the window. It's like if there's an opening from that part of the wall and it goes all the way across into that part of the room, which is crazy. And you can actually see the beams. I believe it's the beams or anything that's in the wall, which that's why I said that this tool is very, very cool to have to find out if your apartment is properly insulated. As you can see, it goes all the way down, and that radiator was heating up this whole apartment, and you can see the warmth coming in from that. And crazy enough, that box right there looks like a freaking portal. But yeah, I believe that this tool is very functional if you want to find out, for example, your equipment, how hot it is, how warm it is, so that this way you can provide the proper cooling. So that's my my router and my DVR camera with my switch and phones and everything. So as you can see on the bottom, this generates a lot of heat from there, and it's about 100 degrees at maximum. It said that it read, but I believe that that was from that portion. So you could see all the equipment, everything here, the monitor, and where the hotspot comes from the monitor. There's my computer. And like I said, the access points is another one. That's one I really wanted to show you. These things get very hot. So this is my Ubiquiti access point. That's my Wi-Fi for my apartment. And there you go. You can see that it reaches a temperature very, very high, 101 degrees Fahrenheit. And like I said, this is a very good tool, how to identify everything that you want to find out in an apartment, electronics, anything that's pretty useful. I believe this is a very good, useful tool. And you can see that the radiator is still hot. We'll take a picture with the trigger button. It saves the image. We'll go back to OK. We'll go to albums. And I believe that the number, it tells you 2025-11, which is the month. And there's the picture of, there's the radiator. So I believe that this is a very useful tool in the field and in your apartment. If you're a tech worker, that you're out and about, mechanic, or you, like I said, you just want to find out where the cold is in your apartment or the heat, I would say get into something like this. It's not very expensive. It's like about $100. And like I said, this is a very good tool. You can see that this has the lens right there. This is how it looks like. There's the screw for the tripods. And yeah, if you have any questions, folks, let me know in the comments and I'll try to help you as much as I can. All right, take care, folks.